Well, welcome to Ask a Responsive Fundraiser, where we take your questions to a fundraising expert so that ultimately you can grow generosity. Today, we're taking your questions to Jay Werth. Jay has nearly 20 years of experience in nonprofit fundraising, specializing in campaign strategy, data analysis, and building trusted relationships. He's led campaigns for a wide range of organizations, including community development, human services, and healthcare. At Convergent, he oversees donor data analysis to help nonprofits understand donor capacity and intent, securing the right investments to drive impact. Jay, thanks for taking the time to answer some questions today.
Well, thank you. And I'm pleased this is on video. I'm all of a sudden a minor star, and I'm sorry I didn't apply my makeup.
Well, that's okay. We are gracious here. And yes, you will now have an IMDb profile of your film accomplishments.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, let's jump into the first question if we could. It's this. We've seen a decline in donor retention, especially among first-time givers. So how can we better engage and steward new donors to turn them into long-term supporters?
The key is be personal. In other words, what are the things that you can do to come across as genuine and personal with your donor? First of all, when you receive a gift, send that thank you. Don't send an email. Write a handwritten notes within 2 days of receiving a donation. I know that's hard. You're a busy professional. How busy can you be to not acknowledge a donor? I mean, the lifeblood of your organization. So I encourage handwritten thank you notes within 2 days of having received the donation. And if you're visiting and cultivating with a potential donor, same theory. Send the thank you for the meeting and what you acknowledge what you learned about that person. I believe that donors give money when they're acknowledged as you, the solicitor or the development professional, takes a genuine interest in who they are as a person and what motivates them to give. People have a variety of motivations to give money, and you have to seek what their particular cause, concern is. And you know what? If you find out that it's not, it's okay to walk away. There's a big universe out there. There's lots of people to talk to, and it's no shame to walk away from a potential donor that doesn't fit who you believe is your profile of. I don't know that there's such a thing of a perfect donor. However, I would hope that you develop a profile. Oh, they're typically in this age group. They have these kinds of interests. You could use a wealth tool to find out what you believe their potential capacity. One that I'm familiar with and use is Wealth Engine, for as an example. I think another thing that you can do is to make it more personal is really come across strongly with some kind of an impact statement. Hey, here's how our contribution, no, not our contribution. It becomes ours once you give it. Once how your contribution is used. And here's the impact that it can possibly make as we implement our programs to serve our constituency. Why not have a welcome package? Maybe it's a welcome kit. Again, that includes an official letter, welcome from the CEO or your executive director, maybe a small brochure about your mission, and maybe even a small token of appreciation. I don't know what form that would take. We may all have enough keychains in our life to last us forever, but there might be some other creative token of appreciation. Well, how about a custom candy? Something like that, a custom piece or two of candy. Have your staff or a board member, or even some of your beneficiaries of your services call or write to a new donor to thank them directly. Make sure that your staff is trained up on donor cultivation and develop the stewardship protocols for them to allow your organization to run effectively, to create those donor loyalties that you'd like over time
Yeah.
from your donor records.
Yeah. No, that's helpful. I think especially focusing how do you make a personal connection with your donor? That's really important.
Well, the main thing is, if I may interrupt, is to listen. Recently, someone was trying to sell us on gutter guards, and he had the book. And he went through the whole presentation, and about 2/3 of the way, I tried to be polite and I said, I've done my research. I know all about your product. You're the best. So you don't have to show us more. But what did he do?
Yeah.
He showed us more. And then he said, how did I
Yeah.
do in the presentation after we signed the deal? And I said, well, you did really well. You know your product, but you weren't listening. I
Yeah.
told you in a nice way that I was very familiar with your product. You could have probably sold me without a discount, which we
Yeah.
did get. But here's the key: listen. That's why you've heard it before, 2 ears and 1 mouth.
There you go. There you go. Well, question number 2, we're going to jump into, and it's this. Many of our fundraising efforts are driven by short-term goals, but we know that we need a more sustainable funding strategy. So how can we transition from transactional fundraising to a long-term, outcome-focused approach that attracts more committed funders?
Well, first of all, a culture shift is in order. And that is, you must shift your mindset, particularly among the leadership, because they're the ones who champion long-term thinking. I know that's difficult because we have short-term problems. We need money for this. We need money for that. However, the better thinking is longer term. Don't be in survival mode, although that may be a reality, but you've got to overcome that thinking long term. We plan to be here for not necessarily forever, but for years. And we want to think about outcome oriented strategies that keep us solvent and effective over time. And you need to involve your stakeholders, the donors, your partners in understanding that long term vision. So that's cultivating a culture shift. And then define your vision for long term as well. Identify the desired outcomes of your work. It could be reducing poverty, but put a number on it, reducing poverty by X% in the community that you serve. You're not just communicating outputs, you're communicating outcomes. And then also build a strong measurement framework, establish your outcome metrics, KPIs, that sort of thing, implement systems so that you can track long-term impact. There are plenty of tools out there that I believe can help you catalog your long-term impact. It's not a notebook and a pencil or a pen, of course. But develop those data collection tools and use them consistently and keep them up to date, and have a reporting framework so that you can broadcast and share your results and your outcomes with your constituency. And then, of course, the donor messaging, you have to share impact stories, right? Demonstrate how long-term investments lead to significant change in the people, or if you, in the case of an animal shelter, the animals that you help and serve. And emphasize that donors are partners in this whole thing as well. They're not a cash register. That donors do not want to feel like, oh, you're just speaking to me because I have money and you want to extract it. So it goes back to our prior point about establishing that personal relationship, and one that comes across with authenticity in your persona to get the trust of the potential donor.
I want to dig in a little further on the idea of data and impact. And it leads us into our third question, actually, which is this. We know data is key to proving our impact and telling the right stories, but we're struggling to translate metrics into compelling messaging. So what strategies can we use to tell a stronger, data-driven story that will resonate with our donors?
You may have heard of this structure before, but one of the things to think about using is the STAR method. And each letter stands for, in this acronym, stands for something. So S is the situation. So let's pick teens, for instance. We know that 40% of local teens lack a mentor. They're not involved in this type of program. Well, then what is the task? The second letter. The task is we plan or aim to connect 200 youth in our community with mentors. So, okay, so now you've got the task. Then the A is for action. Well, the donors funded training for 50 volunteer mentors. Now, that's all outputs, okay? That's outputs. But then the result, star, result, that's the outcome. And you have to go deep with that. So you could say an outcome is, well, 85% of the mentees improved their school attendance. Well, that's good. But what if you did further research to find out those who complete a high school education have the ability to earn X amount more dollars over the life of their career than somebody who doesn't finish high school? You can say
Yeah.
the same metric, find the same metrics for community colleges, four-year education, or higher degreed individuals. And what this mentee program is increasing the likelihood of a person, a teenager, advancing in their education to improve their life over time, provide employers with better educated employees. It has phenomenal outcomes attached to it, but you must do the research to get those outcomes quantifiable.
Yeah. That's really helpful, and I think it gives people a really clear framework to think through that. And so we really appreciate that. And thank you, Jay, for your time today, for sharing from your expertise and helping our audience hopefully grow generosity. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate being asked to participate. Take care, and remember, it's a big wide world out there. There's money. Just need to find it.
There we go. Thank you.